Hi, I'm Rebecca Gibson, and this is Golden Goddess TV. This is episode number 2, and I'm so excited to be able to introduce to you one of my dearest friends in the whole world, Denise Duffield-Thomas. So, as you know, Golden Goddesses are golden goddesses who use their shadow and their dark periods to now heal other women through their darkness and into their light, all serving the purpose of healing and empowering the divine feminine. So I'll introduce Denise, and then she will tell you what her part of that purpose is in healing the divine feminine. Hi, how are you?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. I'm so excited. So tell everybody, what do you do as part of your healing and empowering of the divine feminine?
So I focus purely on the money side because I am someone, I consider myself a little bit woo-woo for sure, but where I really like to help people is in the practicality of money. So I focus purely on money mindset and helping women get over their fear of things like charging for what they do, getting used to the idea of actually receiving and exchanging money instead of bartering or energy exchanges, and even doing things like, increasing the prices, charging premium prices, and really harnessing the power of money to change the world, because that's what it's going to take now. Money is not going away as a form of currency anytime soon, regardless if it's cash or electronic.
Yeah.
And let's face it, men control most of the power, i.e. the wealth in the world. And when women have more money, we really do change the world. And it's been proven that even if you give women in very basic developing nations, if they just have a little bit more money, they are more entrepreneurial, they help their communities, they grow the GDP of their countries, and they spend money in ways that enrich other women.
Absolutely.
And that's what we do in the Western world, in the developed world as well. We spend money in ways that enrich our communities, and we are proven to be more philanthropic. We really can change the world with more money. So that's my laser focus area, is just helping women with their money.
And I notice too, when I have more money, I tend to spend it on self-care, and I tend to spend more of it on Sienna, this is my daughter, and therefore we're raising, well, especially little girls, we're raising our children to be more self-care, more compassionate, more nurturing, and show them that there are other ways of using money rather than hoarding it all over into 1% and then using it to deal arms or drugs or all the other mess that the patriarch has got us into at the moment. So really is now the time that we really need to step up as women and use our money to nurture and create compassion and heal. So,
absolutely. And also, when I think of women that I know who, when they have more money, they buy from other female-owned businesses, and we give more to charity. But where I would also like to see, and this is not my area of expertise at all, but I'd love to see women, invest more. And when you have more confidence in money and you get over your money blocks, you're more likely then to seek out advice from mentors, from advisors and things like that, who then can help you grow that wealth and grow your influence and power in different ways.
Yeah, good influence and power.
Absolutely.
So where did your healing around your money stuff come into this? Because we all sort of tend to work what we needed the most, and then that becomes our zone of genius, So obviously there were some money issues for you. I mean, I know what they are, but nobody else does. So what was the catalyst? Where was the dark period that now got you to where you are now?
Yeah, well, like a lot of people who grew up with a lot of money, I was raised by a single parent who was really, really young. And what I've noticed, though, is that sometimes your attitudes around money have really little to do with how much you actually had. And let me explain by that. So a lot of people who grew up kind of with not a lot of money actually didn't know they didn't have that much money. Like, it wasn't a thing for them until like maybe 1 or 2 kind of incidences when they realized, oh, I'm poor, or I don't have any money compared to other people. So I grew up in council estates. where everyone has the same stuff.
Yeah.
Like everyone literally has the same house. And it was like the only thing different was like your staircase was on the other side of the house to your neighbor, and they just flipped them. And back then too, like growing up, there were, you know, no one had credit cards or personal loans. So everyone literally had the same stuff. No one had like a big screen TV that they'd bought on credit or anything like that. So it was kind of a very egalitarian way to grow up. And so I never really thought about money, to be honest, until when I was, and my mum was very happy-go-lucky with money too, right? She'd be like, she was very lucky. She'd win, you know, money on the pokies or something like that. Or she just did, yeah, she was very lucky. So it was a little bit of feast or famine, but you know, mum really hit it quite well from us, I think, that we didn't have a lot. But again, all of her friends didn't have a lot. All of our friends didn't have a lot. But something happened when I was about 11 that really changed my view of money. And it's my mum got married to a wealthy older guy. And we moved into his house, and this was like a 90s mansion, you know, like one of those 90s Federation style houses on 5 acres. And the things that really impressed me were like the rich people things. Like we had a 3-car garage with an electric garage opener. I was like, that is like super wealthy. And like a walk-in pantry. I was like, this is money, you know. And not even the other stuff, like there was a full-size billiards table. There was like, you know, en-suites with spas. I'd never even heard of an en-suite before, because everyone I knew had one bathroom in their house and everyone shared it, even to the point like everyone shared the same bathwater. You know, so suddenly I was thrust into this completely different space. And like my mum gave up her brown Tirana and we had this white sleeker with the pop-up headlights, like total 90s. I can
totally imagine your mum driving that.
She loved it. And, you know, and the house had a formal dining room and like, you know, and a formal lounge room and just all of these things. It was suddenly opened my eyes to wealth. But, and that wasn't the damaging thing necessarily, although, you know, a lot of my friends at the council estate suddenly were like, well, you think you're so good. And I was kind of like, I kind of do. Like I was like, this is kind of cool. But that wasn't the damaging thing. The damaging thing was my mum is very impulsive, right? And she hates being controlled. She's an Aquarian. She's just like, nope. She doesn't like being controlled at all. So every time they would have an argument or a fight, we would move out. Mum would just be like, I'm out. So we would move from that massive big mansion to whatever small little apartment she could get, you know, at very short notice. And like we would literally move. And I mean, my mum can move in 12 hours from like deciding to in our new house. And we did this a lot. So, so this happened. They were together for 5 years. And I think we moved in and out of that house maybe 5 times, maybe even more than that. And of course, like, you know, we'd go mansion, tiny little house, mansion, tiny little house. And that totally warped my view of money, because suddenly it was very clear to me that men had all the power. Men could throw you out and destroy your life at a moment's notice. And they could use their power for like kind of bad stuff, you know. And it really sort of opened my eyes to, oh, wow, we're poor. So it's like, you know, the rags to riches, rags to riches, rags to riches. And I just completely distrusted money and men from that experience. So that made me vow never to be reliant on a man for money. Like at that really young age, I was like, I'm going to make my own money. I'm going to have my own business. I'm going to be a millionaire. And I'm going to control the money. And as you know, all this stuff happens in my life. And of course, it's brought up other things around, you know, relationships that I had to really deal with as well. But just that money side of it, it made me incredibly determined from a young age to earn my own money. Always. What
story do you think that you kind of learned around women with money?
Well, I really didn't even see a lot of role models around entrepreneurship and money. So for a long time, I only followed guys, because I was like, well, women have nothing to say around this topic. You know, like women are terrible around money. So I only looked towards the men in a way. So even though I was like, men are, you know, have this thing, but I was like, well, women have no clue either, because I'd seen, you know, my mum, my aunties, everyone be so stuck when it came to money. And so it made me really kind of disrespect women's views on money and automatically looked to, you know, the patriarchy of what was right around money, knowing that of course they've always been amazing role models for women.
Yeah. I think what I noticed, especially growing up and especially with someone like your mum, God love her, is because I'm exactly the same, because your mum has worked really hard at periods for money, and I too do. And the prostitute archetype that comes out in women when it comes to money is just gets such a grip on you, where you feel like, well, me literally, you feel like you need to go to work to get your head caved in just to pay the bills, and it keeps the husband happy or whoever, just quietens it down. And then I grew up with a mother who was never around when I was younger because she had to go to work, and that was just the economic times then in the 80s. You know, interest rates were 18.5%, and so then I grew up thinking you have to work your guts out to just scrape by, and it was just this programming. And I imagine that kind of influence came from your mum too, and that sort of shaped, well, I don't want to work my guts out, I want to do the whole 4-hour week thing.
Well, I did both, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, and one thing I really noticed from my mum, and she still does it now, is a real mistrust of authority, and she's really scared by anything that requires paperwork, even if it's stuff that she deserves, you know, if it's like an insurance claim that she should do, or even when she got divorced, the idea of having to deal with the men totally scared her, and she would just go, nah, I'm out, I'm not going to do it, even if it's totally sabotaged herself and her income. And she still does it now, where I'm like, just call up and do the paperwork, and it gets her in the biggest tizzy, and she can't handle
Forms. I hate filling out forms too. I can't stand it.
Yes. And also just dealing with authority, like dealing with you know, men in charge. It freaks her out, and it freaked me out for a long time too. But what I did though is I did do the prostitute thing in a way, because I just worked my guts out. So at uni I had 4 jobs. I was working all the time, and I would take on jobs that were like, you know, like nursing. You're like, oh, but you can work 24/7. This is brilliant. You know, I was the same. I worked in a an adult phone chat company, because it was the only job I could think of that you didn't need.
I think that's my favorite of your jobs.
Yes, well, it wasn't my favorite, but I could work 24/7 if I wanted to, because it was literally open 24 hours a day, and I didn't need any qualifications to do it. So that was really appealing to me, because I hadn't seen any other way of working beyond, well, just work your guts out and work really hard and just work more. And I fall into that trap even now as an adult, where I aspire always to the 4-hour work week thing. I aspire to the chillpreneur way of doing things, but I have to watch myself. And last year, 2017, I did feel like I was being prostituted out by my team. Yeah. And it took me a while. I fell into it, and I didn't realize it was happening. And then I was like, what? This is just an old pattern, you know, that mindset. If you want more money, you just have to work harder. And it's incredibly hard to get out of.
Word. Yeah, and then you're getting a lot of the male coaches preaching hustle, hustle, hustle. You're not going to go anywhere if you hustle. And I was like, I can tell you're going to go to an early grave if you keep hustling the way that you do, because I myself was a hustler, workaholic. I got to my stage where I was working 20 hours a day, commuting, driving during that, in a super high, stressful, ridiculous job that had a lot of media attention. But that prostitute archetype, and then the victim archetype kicked in, and then the saboteur kicks in, and then my wounded child kicks in, and they all just rule the roost at once. And I find so often with women that we let those archetypes kind of take over, whereas men seem to not attach themselves strongly to those 4 particular archetypes, and they can just give themselves permission to go off and do anything, whereas we women have to kind of ask permission for the people around us whether or not it's now our turn to receive, rather than we need to put ourselves first, and then everybody else will get the benefit for us being like that. But that's a really hard habit for women to get out of, because we're taught that from a very young age, which brings me to talking about the girls. So for everyone who's watching, my daughter and Denise's daughter are best friends. And so we've been hanging out every week since the girls were about 6 months old. And we have these really good conversations about what kind of world we want our kids to grow up in, what kind of role models we want to be, how we want to show girls what women are to be, how women are going to, Western woman is going to save the world. I completely believe what the Dalai Lama said in was it 1999? And we both want our girls to be raised like that. And then you with your son, you want him to understand that the divine feminine is very important in him as well as with his sister. And soon Bubby to come, so that's very exciting. So we have a lot of conversations around how we're going to raise our girls to not be fearful of money and to not allow the patriarchy to take over and to stand up and be assertive and set boundaries and go forth and do whatever they want. So how do you think that you're teaching Willow, and then hopefully along the purpose of getting into teaching other kids, or even teaching women now through your courses, how to teach their children to not be fearful of money?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I really see my responsibility at, teaching the women, because really you can tell kids anything, but they're watching what you do and how you speak about money and how you treat yourself and the things that you kind of say. So we decided really early on, like, we're not going to stress out about like sitting down and doing lectures with Willow about money. Like, we're just going to be really mindful about the things that we say. So one of the early things I remember, she had some money. We went to the farmer's market and we gave her some money to buy her own apple. So I think that's important too, is giving girls especially, but all kids, like, this is your money and you go and buy it yourself, just to give them that experience of it. And she put the like 50-cent piece in her mouth, and I said, "Oh, don't put that in your mouth, it's dirty." And I went, oh my God, that's the first message that all of us receive about money is this dirty thing.
It really is dirty though.
Like, but everything's dirty.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, but everything is. That's the thing. But we do it to money more than anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think we hear that as this is an icky thing. Whereas, oh my God, like some of the toys and things that our kids play with when you go to like, I remember we went to a kid's room and like Willow's coming out with a chicken nugget. And I'm like, how old is that? Where did you get that from? So I'm chilled about that, and I say to our kids, instead of money is dirty, I say, we don't put money in our mouths. We take care of money in our family. Just
much better.
Yeah, and just to neutralize it. So if all we can do is just neutralize their messages that are coming through about money, not giving them bad stuff. Yeah. And then just being really mindful about the things that we say. So Willow came home and we were like giving her some toast or something, and she was like, I don't want that. And then she goes, you get what you get and you don't get upset. And I was like, where did you hear that? And I thought it was at daycare, but it was actually at football, at a football class, because they say to them, go stand on the red thing. And they go, I want to stand on the orange. And they go, nope, you get what you get and you don't get upset. And so she started repeating that. And I was like, and I said, you know what? You can always negotiate. And I was like, sometimes in some situations, you do, like, your parents give you something and you can't get upset by it. But I was like, you know what? In real life, you can negotiate. And it's just things like that get drummed into us. And mine was at home. Mine was, it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. Yeah. So that was the thing that was always drummed into me as a kid. And again, that's a nice motto in a lot of ways, but it made me like decide, being nice is more important than anything else. So you have to be accommodating. You can't have boundaries. You can't be a bitch. Yeah, you have to be polite. You have to go along with what other people say. So it's just things like that, questioning some of the things that we say about life, not just about money. That's going to be so helpful. But then also showing kids, just showing kids that you can take care of yourself and that you earn your own money and that you love what you do. I hear a lot of mums say, oh, I'm so sad I have to go away to this conference. And I say, hey, I'm going away for a conference because I love my work and I'm going to go and help some people with their money. And, I'm going to miss you guys, but I'm really excited as well. So even just things like that, talking about our work and how much we love it and how we earn our money. I think that stuff's really important.
What do you think is a good reframe for mothers when their kids are constantly asking for stuff. You know, you go shopping. I want this, I want
Yeah.
this, I want this. And the first thing that normally comes flying out of our mouths that we've definitely had drummed in with, we can't afford it. Or if you really want to go further, money doesn't grow on trees. And then you just go down this rabbit hole of, we're poor, you don't deserve anything, it's not happening. And
Totally.
even when we go shopping, I hear it all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it, but it wants to come out.
Yes. Well, I asked my friend Marissa, our friend Marissa Roberts from Beautifully Organised. So what she says is she goes, oh my God, that's an amazing idea. Let's put that on your birthday list or Christmas list, whatever's coming up first. And she'll go, oh my God. And you think, you could say to them, this is amazing. Let's take a picture of this and we'll print it out and put it on your dream board.
That's an excellent idea.
That would be a great one. And just say, oh, you can try it on and we can take a picture and put it on your dream board. Or like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what you can save up for. You know, and I think, you know, because it is true that sometimes you literally can't afford it. And lots of people are in that situation.
Or you just don't want it in your house.
Yeah, that's true too. So you can say, well, we don't buy that in our family. You know, it's like, we just don't buy stuff that goes into landfill, whatever you want to do.
That's an ugly dress. I don't want it.
Again, you just want to find a way that it's neutral or it's a positive thing, even if you genuinely don't have enough money. But where the damage comes, I think, is when if you're feeling ashamed and angry and then you shame them for wanting things, but you can still make it a positive thing. Like, oh my God, this is this is a great idea. Because most of the time they forget about it. We all know this. They're like, I have to have this thing and I'm going to die if I don't have it. They never remember it, ever. And I'm really mindful of this because I can afford to buy like whatever, really. I'm not saying that to brag, but I can afford to buy it. Yeah. And you know, I'm not buying a shit all the time. You know this, right? Because sometimes we go shopping and, you know, we're like, oh yeah, we need stuff from Cotton On. But what I've been doing is we'll go to the farmer's market and, you know, there's ponies and there's a jumping castle.
Make a choice.
I'll say, yeah, which one do you want to do? She goes, both. And I say, well, I've only got 6 coins. Like, I say coins rather than money too.
Oh, okay.
So she says, oh, I want to go on this thing. Instead of saying I don't have any money, I say, I don't have any coins on me. And it just neutralizes it a little bit. So sometimes I'll say no just because I want her not to get everything all the time. Yeah. So sometimes she'll go, oh, I want to go on the ponies. I go, well, you know what? I don't have any coins. So we're not doing ponies today. But next time we come, let's make sure we save some coins and we can do it. And I don't want our kids to be spoiled rich brats. I really don't. And sometimes I have little arguments with Mark about it because, like, he loves buying presents, you know, and he's a bit of a softie when it comes to Willow, as you know. And we just had her birthday and I said, let's just do 3 presents only. And we said to people coming to the party, we don't want presents. And of course people bring presents.
That's all.
Yeah, they still do because it's so ingrained, right? Yeah. You can't turn up with nothing, even though I was saying to people, seriously, we've got so much to do. So my mum was like, I can't believe how mean you are. Like, this is so horrible that you're not letting people buy her presents. And I was like, Mum, look around. She's not a neglected child. She has so much stuff. But it's our values as a family that we're trying to instill, and that's got nothing to do with money. So she might grow up just like, in the future, she'll be like, my parents didn't buy me anything. But I feel okay about that, you know, because we still do. We just try not to spoil her and let her have anything she wants all the time.
Speaking about Mark, so last year you did your money archetypes, and then you went down the road of couples, because so many women, once they get into this manifesting period and then they're raising their vibration, they're moving up out of their shadows and their fear stuff, and then they're shifting, and hubby's like, what is going on here? Where's my wife? What's happening to you? Who's doing this to you? And then especially with the Lucky Bee community, it's like, well, Denise is doing it. I'm in a Lucky Bee and I'm in another group, and like, what is going on? Mark obviously really struggled because men, I say to my husband, I'm going to retire you one day. And he gets so offended. And I said, this is a good thing. It means you get to stay home and you get to be with Sienna and you get to do fun things, and you don't have to go and slog out your prostitute archetype in a job that you can't stand. But his masculine energy feels so wounded as the protector provider. So what kind of things happened with Mark that you nurtured that feminine energy in him, that nurturing, compassionate, creative energy for him to move, because there's been a huge shift in him, huge shift in his energy.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice would you have to women that need to start nurturing the feminine energy in their husbands that are so fearful and resistant?
Well, here's the thing. A lot of women use their husbands as an excuse. They really do, and say, well, my husband wouldn't like me doing this, or I can't do it because of my husband. And you just have to move forward anyway, because, I mean, Mark and I have been together since he was 19 and I was 23. So that's a long time.
Yeah.
And what I noticed for Mark too is that he, like a lot of men, he likes to climb ladders for no apparent reason. Whereas women, I think we're like, well, why are we climbing this ladder?
I was a ladder climber.
Okay, there you go.
I was very much in my masculine, yeah.
So it was like, you know, jobs that were so unhealthy for him in so many ways. And I could see it, but he couldn't, you know, and he was grinding his teeth at night and so stressed all the time. And he's a workaholic. Like, unchecked, he is a total workaholic. And I am too, but I've learnt to overcome it. And I think the reason is because I'm surrounded by women who are in this conversation. We don't want to work this hard. We want to have babies. We want to be in our feminine more. And what I noticed for a lot of women who are in that space, we've got role models, we've got the support. The men don't.
Yeah.
They really don't. And so when, you know, we were together and I would say, I'm going to retire you one day. And he was going, oh, yeah, well, when you earn this much, and then when you earn this much. And he just kept on raising the bar.
Yeah.
And finally I was like, dude, I have hit every target you have set me. It is time for you to quit your job. And he was so scared. He was terrified.
Well, because his prostitute archetype was triggered.
Totally. And he was saying, the biggest thing he was saying is, what am I going to tell people that I do? And I was like, who cares? But he cared so deeply.
Yeah.
And I think he was considering, like, what if we're at a barbecue and someone's saying, well, what do you do? He was like, I don't know what to tell them. So that was stopping him from wanting to quit his job. And I, like, literally gave him an ultimatum. I was like, dude, I'm not going to be married to someone who is stressed out at a job that they don't love. So you choose. Like, and I was really serious. I was like, I'm willing to divorce you over this because this is not what I signed up for. So he finally, like, got the courage to do it. And he was so terrified about telling all of his clients, everyone. And everyone said, I wish I could do that too.
Oh, absolutely. Like, and statistically, when men retire, they die within 5 years of retirement because they haven't nurtured themselves. They're just kind of, you know, when some people work full time in a job that they can't stand, and then all of a sudden they have leave and then they go sick, and everyone's, oh, you know, Murphy's Law, you have annual leave and you're sick, and it's because your body's finally having a time to stop, and there's not all that adrenaline and fight or flight response that you're going through every day, and your body needs to recuperate. And then men just don't see that they flog themselves in that fight or flight every single day in a job they hate, because it's ingrained in them that they have to be the nurturer, they have to be the provider, and they have to be the protector. And then when they don't have that anymore, the protector they can be, but they're not providing anymore, they fall apart, and then they die. They're dropping dead of heart attacks, they're getting cancer and dying within short periods of time. So you can tell him that you saved his life and that you've allowed him to have extra time with his kids.
Well, it took him a while to decompress. And I was speaking to my friend Patricia, who they did the same thing, like quit his job, moved to Bali. She said it took him 2 years to decompress enough to really enjoy it.
Yeah,
and I'm not surprised, because I really think it took Mark, you know, like, you know, he was in my business last year repeating the same pattern as he did in his old jobs. And I had to have some interventions around that and just go, this is not how we treat our team. We do not burn out our team. This is not how you treat me. I am, like, you're killing the golden goose here. And, like, but it was so hard for him to put the brakes on that. And I mean, we're still going to go through it because it's his natural personality for sure. But, you know, he went on a meditation retreat a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, you know, I'm going to read 10 pages of a book every day, and I'm going to meditate every day. And that's made a huge difference too.
Oh, there's been a huge shift in him. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge shift. It's amazing, really. And even the kids seem more settled because he's more settled. He's just he's happier. He just seems so much
He is.
happier. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's nice for our kids to see that too, of like they'll never remember a time when their parents had to work.
No, and such a great message for George too, because then George won't grow up into this role model that the patriarchy create, where they have to work at the expense of their marriages, at the expense of seeing their family. I mean, how many families break down because the husband's always at work, the wife doesn't feel like she has a relationship anymore, the kids hardly get to see their dad, and then next minute dad's living by himself paying child support and hardly anything for himself and still having to work more, and the kids have no relationship with their father, and it just creates so much disharmony. It's like if kids now growing up with mothers like you and me and teaching them, hey, this is a better way to life. It's what's been happening has led us down this path where we're destroying the earth. We've got kids shooting up schools with presidents saying just arm all the teachers. Like, the world's just broken. There needs to be more empathy, and that comes through the divine feminine. And I think I'm going to mention the best movie ever. I think that movies like Wonder Woman, although it's a superhero kind of mystical figure, it's still so important for children to be able to see such a powerful woman lead with compassion and not back down when the patriarchy comes in with fear and says, we're not going to win this. You know, this ego comes in, we can't do this. We don't cross no man's land, because that's just not how things are done. And here she is standing up and saying, but who's going to help the people on the other side? And I mean, I know when we went to see it, the whole way, I think all 4 times that I've seen it now, I think I cried all the time. But how has that movie and the whole sort of empowerment of the rising of the feminine, because that's very symbolic, that movie, how's that affected you and your work now?
I think it came at the perfect time for me, because I was shifting some things in my business anyway, and I was shifting some of my messaging, and just felt a new energy, and I can't even really explain it now, but I just felt different, and I felt like I really wanted to serve in a different way. But I also got a really I was starting to feel a bit cynical about my work after the US election when Trump came in, and I was like, this isn't important. Like, there's so much like crappy stuff going in the world. What I do is so superficial and unimportant and just silly, you know? And so I was feeling this like real kind of, is this important work? And then I saw Wonder Woman, and, you know, when she was talking about the no man's land thing, but every single time she was never going, who's going to do something? Yeah. She was like, I am the man who's going to change this. I am the one who's going to go into those spaces. And I did feel a real call to action. And I was like, no, my work isn't the most important work in the world, but it's important. And I felt a real just invigoration of what I do and how I wanted to help people. And it was a changing point for me, I think.
I think another good message about that movie is she had no idea that she was a goddess. She just had this faith, this fire within her that she knew she had to save people. She knew it was going to be her, and she was led by faith without fully understanding how powerful she is. And I find so many women have no idea how powerful they are. They just need to be led by faith, and they need to listen to their intuition more, and they need to understand what their purpose is as opposed to their why, because you see so many coaches talking about what's your why. Your why is very ego attached, and it's all about, my why is I want a house on the beach. My why is I want to be home with the kids. My why is I want to retire my husband. But what I really noticed with you throughout our friendship is this shift where you've gone from your why into your purpose, and you understand that what you're doing is so important for the healing, the empowering of the divine feminine. Like we talked about at the beginning, is using money to nurture the world, using money for compassionate reasons, being, spreading the wealth, because women, generally speaking, are the budgeters at home. We're the ones that budget what food's coming in, and we prioritize what the family need in order for them all to be functioning at their best. and it's very different from the way masculine energy deals with money. And
Yes.
I've loved to see your evolution into this spiritual growth that you've been having now, where you understand how important your purpose is, and watching your faith grow, when we go to priestess retreats and stuff, and it's just been really interesting, because I've always had this spiritual business, and we've been talking, for years about my business and my growth, because I'm only new to it. And we're talking about all this woo-woo stuff, thinking, oh my God, I'm crazy, because I've come from psychiatry and now I'm going to be a psychic medium. And then just to see you listening, and the changes that have happened in you, and the evolution of your business now, because the way you talk is very different from what it was 2 years ago. The way you empower women is very different to what it was 2 years ago.
You know what it is? I actually hold it more lightly now, which is really interesting, because that's the Wonder Woman movie is still rooted in the patriarchy, and that you have to be special, you're the only one, you're by yourself, all this kind of stuff. So I remember talking to Willow, we were reading one of her superhero books, and at the end it's like, what's your superhero power? And she was like, well, I don't have any, because they were all like, well, I do this and I have this special magic power. But I was saying to her, you know what? Like, empathy and listening to people and being a good friend and being a good, like looking out for your brother and all this stuff, they're powers as well. So there's this myth that, like, you have to be super special, and no one wants to think of themselves as super special, because it puts us on that ladder type mentality of crush the competition.
Separation. And it's not.
And I have to be better than someone else. No, exactly. So I think sometimes women can feel excluded from that superpower narrative, because it feels competitive, and they feel like they have to be so super good at something. And usually that something is something very like extroverted or, popular or whatever, not understanding that, we all need to activate the powers that are within us, and we need empathy, and we need people who are great nurturers, and we need people who are great, in that leadership role. And so I think now I just take it so lightly. I'm just like, I don't have to be the best to help people. I just want to help some people who need my particular brand of help. I don't care about being the best or helping everybody. And that has actually really helped me, because I just taken the pressure off myself to be Wonder Woman by myself facing the whole army. It's like, oh, we've all got a part to play in this. This is cool. And I don't have to work so hard to prove myself.
Do you feel your faith now that it's more than just your why, there's a purpose to it, and that it's leading to a collaborative rising? Do you think that makes you feel lighter?
Yes, because I've just seen so many other women doing their stuff too, and realizing that it takes all of us.
Yeah.
And also I think I had this complex at the start, whereas like, if I'm not going to be Oprah, then I shouldn't bother. Because, Oprah is the standard for so many of us. And it's like, I have to be the Oprah of my industry. And I'm like, no, I really don't. Like, I really don't.
Oprah's Oprah.
I know. And it's like, and also you don't have to help everyone in the world to create a really good income for yourself either. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I think I'm just a bit more chill about it. I'm like, it doesn't matter if people don't like me, because who cares? I don't like heaps of people. So it's just, I'm just a bit more zen about it, I think, now.
That's one good thing about Wonder Woman movie, is there's so many strong females in that movie. It's not just about Wonder Woman. And I
at the start, and then she has to go off by herself, which is kind of like, that's a bit scary for some women.
That scene where they're fighting on the beach and they all come down, and it gives me goosebumps. Still gives me goosebumps. But I really resonate with Hippolyta and that warrior queen energy of making sure that all the other women are rising and doing what they're supposed to do. So I loved that. I loved Wonder Woman, but I didn't resonate as much with her as I did with her mother. So I loved that movie gave a bunch of different strong women in their own right to the audience and for kids and stuff. So just before we wrap up, what advice do you have for mums talking to their kids about manifesting? Because I know that there's a few things that you do with the kids that get, because you've done them with Sienna, and now Sienna wants to do them all the time, because I didn't think of doing manifesting games and stuff with her, and then when you've done them with her, so she wants to do the Starlight, Starbright and other things. So what kind of things do you do with the kids that other mums can do?
Yeah, so again, just be really mindful of your language, because I think that's the most important thing we can do, and just try and find the positive in situations as well, is really important. Like as I was saying, you know, rather than I don't have any money, I don't have any coins, and that's okay, we'll do it next time. When we've found money in the street, like, you know, I always say to Will, oh, we're so lucky. We find money all the time. And then you just notice they repeat things like that that you say, which is obviously why you have to watch your language, right? Because if you're constantly saying, we can't afford it, money's bad, whatever.
That's so funny about the money in the street, because my mum would always tell me, don't touch it. It's dirty and you don't need money that bad that you need to pick it up off the street. So I'd be like, I don't need money. And I still then, as an adult, until we started hanging out, it was like, oh, don't touch it. Like, I'm above that 10 cents lying there. I don't need that dollar sitting there. And then I'm block.
Yeah, I pick up money in the street all the time. I mean, if it's inaccessible, I'm not picking it up. And I'll say to Willow, hey, why don't we leave that for someone else to find? Because that will make their day.
So what's inaccessible, like in a lion's den? What's inaccessible?
I don't know. If it's like in a puddle or like a dirty puddle or something like that. I've picked up money in New York, like all the time.
Money's money.
Money's money, yeah, exactly. And you can say that, like, oh, find a penny, pick it up all day long, you'll have good luck. You know, just instill some of that positive language around money, because that's going to crowd out some of the negativity. And yeah, we wish on stars, so that's always really fun too. And we do EFT before we go to bed. And sometimes she'll do it like in a really, she'll just go, and she'll look around her room and she goes, even though I love my dream catcher, you know, and I'm like, well, sometimes it's good to say something, you know, like that you're not so happy about. And I think probably it's only like once or twice a week that she'll come up with something that's really profound, that's something she's been worrying about.
Yeah.
But we're just in the habit of doing it every night anyway, and we take turns doing it. And I do it. I sometimes say some really vulnerable things in there too, where I'll say, you know, even though I'm worried about this, I deeply and completely love and accept myself, because I want her to hear that, you know, I'm not perfect with things and I worry about things too, and that's okay. So it's just little things like that. I talked to her a little bit about my business and how I help people, but I'm doing it very lightly and just making sure that I'm not, you know, drumming some of those negative things into her that so many of us have had drummed into us.
All right, well, before we wrap up, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you've got any other little golden nuggets or anything else that you feel you need to share?
Yeah, I think just this idea of why not me? You know, that's something that I've kind of struggled with in the early days, because I had a lot of excuses why I couldn't be successful, have money, build a business, etc. So if you just kind of ask yourself, like, why not me? First of all, you'll get some great information, because your brain will go, because you need to lose 10 kilograms. You know, just ask your brain why, you know, and then eventually when you work through some of those, you'll just start to go, actually, yeah, I can be successful like anyone else. And that's totally cool for me to, you know, to have a big business. And you just start to retrain your brain to understand that opportunity is for you, just like anyone else.
Oh, for everyone. I've really learned that. Stop comparing. Stop putting people on pedestals, because they've all worked towards what they've got. It's not like people have just been given lucky break because they're special. And I've really learned on my spiritual journey that separation is what causes all of these issues, and that if we were all empathic and learn to come to each other with compassion rather than, well, I feel sorry for you, or that's not me, and ignoring your triggers, because when you're feeling triggered, that's because you have that in you that needs healing, and it's coming to the surface. Knock, knock, I'm here, let's heal this. So separation is poison. It's poison.
Yes, and specialness is overrated as well. You don't need to be special.
And I always say that when people come to me for readings, oh, do you think that I have psychic ability? Everyone does. That's where energetic beings, we're spirits in a human experience. Every single person has intuition. We've all got that internal compass. We've all got the ability to exercise it. Just like I mean, you've seen my husband, he's a bodybuilder. It's because he exercises his ass off to get like that. I'm not going to do it because I hate it. But I exercise my spiritual health. And so my intuition's off the wall and his is crap because he doesn't exercise it. But nobody's more special than the other. It's just where you choose to put your energy is where you grow. That's where you expand. Oh, well, thank you. I'm so pleased that we got to finally do this after me procrastinating for years and years going, I'm gonna.
Well, now you have.
I know, I've done it. Well, thank you very much. So you tell everybody where they can find you if they don't already know.
My website is denisedt.com. All my books and like my audio versions of books, Kindle and paperback, are all at Amazon. So whatever country you're in, just look for my name, Denise Duffield-Thomas or Lucky Bitch, and you'll see them. And and my website, denisedt.com. I have quite a few freebies around money or mindset, so come and check those out as well.
And where else can people find your books? Hello. Not just Amazon. Hay House.
Yeah, through their website too.
And when's the next one coming?
So July is the new version of Get Rich Lucky Bitch, and then my third book will be out in 2019. So,
and that's another thing for people, if you've not come across Denise before, if you come across stuff that says Lucky Bitch, that's Denise's brand before it's evolved and matured into Denise DT.
Just my name. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Beck.
Oh, thank you. Bye, guys. See ya.